Distinguished delegates, it's really a great honour and a privilege for me to have this opportunity to be able to say a few words in the current session of this fourth high-level ministerial roundtable. In my capacity as, first of all, Secretary-General of the International Union for New Varieties of Plants and secondly as Director-General of the World Intellectual Property Organization. I think we're all acutely aware of the challenges that confront agriculture as a consequence of growing populations, competing uses of land and in particular climate change. Those challenges, I think, place a great responsibility on policymakers and on institutions in the field of agriculture. Two key policies we know to address the manifold challenges are innovation and conservation. And we certainly at UPOV and WIPO see that these two policies and actions are increasingly interdependent and are synergetic. As far as innovation is concerned, of course, there is really hardly any need to underline its importance. If we do things in exactly the same way in the future as we do them today, we will obviously not be able to accommodate the growing population and the other challenges that are being thrown out for agriculture. It's only through innovation that we will be able to actually improve our performance and our productivity and I think address those important challenges. Innovation depends in the field of agriculture, of course, on access to genetic resources, and this is where we see a synergy between innovation and conservation and a synergy between the institutional roles of UPOV, WIPO and the International Treaty. As far as UPOV is concerned, as you know, the UPOV Convention contains a particularly important provision in this regard, namely the breeder's exemption, which guarantees access to the genetic resources of new plant varieties without any restriction for the purposes of breeding. In general, plant variety rights, plant breeders' rights, and other intellectual property rights are exceptionally important for innovation. First of all, to ensure adequate investment in the creation of new knowledge in these fields, and secondly, as a framework to ensure a safe passage for that for the expression of that investment in the form of a new innovation from its early stages right through to the stage where it is a marketed product and thus able to generate income to compensate for the investment in the new innovation. I think it's important to remember also that, amongst other things, intellectual property rights generate a huge amount of very useful information. One of the purposes of having formal systems of intellectual property is to ensure the disclosure of new technologies which might otherwise be kept secret. So we believe that having accessible and very functional databases which are available to the general public but also in particular to breeders with respect to the new innovations that are occurring in the field of agriculture is a very important task of in the intellectual property system. I would like to commend the DivSec database initiative and it's a good example, we believe, of innovation in conservation and technology transfer. We also favour the development of functional databases, and I would refer in particular to the databases of both UPOV and WIPO in this respect. What I said earlier about on the policy level with respect to the synergies between innovation and conservation, I think applies to the three organisations of the International Treaty, the Food and Agriculture Organisation, of course, UPOV and WIPO. We believe that a new era of cooperation has commenced between these organisations, and certainly from the point of view of both UPOV and WIPO, we place a very, very high priority on this cooperation. I think one example of the cooperation is the contribution of UPOV to the platform co-development and transfer of technologies, as well as to discussions on mechanisms for enhancing public-private partnerships in pre-breeding. There will be other examples of cooperation. I think we regard it as a privilege to be able to contribute in a modest way to this exceptionally important area of human endeavour, agriculture, and we look forward very much to this cooperation in the future. And I should like to take the opportunity to wish you well in your deliberations, and I'm sorry that I am unable to be there personally as a consequence of the meeting of our governing body at WIPO here in Geneva. Thank you very much.